The Greek Freak absolutely dominated the Knicks in the first Giannis Bowl of the season, and he put both franchises on notice. The Knicks have actually dropped two in a row away from the Garden, so let's chop it up with Alex Trataros of Knicks Fan TV to see what's going on with these growing pains right now. Alex, you got a smile on your face right now, but a lot of Knicks fans last night were a little upset with that outcome, particularly the fourth quarter. So, what are a couple of things that stood out to you most in these back-to-back losses, particularly last night to the Bucks?
Brandon, I'm just happy to be here. I always love chopping it up with you. But some of the things that stood out to me in these last two games against the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks is that the Knicks, one, have poor transition defense. I mean, in against Miami, it was 38-10 when it came to transition scoring. Heat had 38 points in transition. Knicks only had 10. Last night, we're talking about a team that essentially got beat again. They had 21, Milwaukee had 21 points in transition, and the Knicks had 9. So they're not getting back on defense to stop guys, and they're just not hustling quick enough to get in position, eliminate guys like Giannis or anybody else attacking out in the open court. Same thing with Jaime Jaquez against Miami. So that's number one. Number two, it's coming down to continuing to embrace what the new offense is, which is the constant ball movement we saw in the second quarter last night, and even against Miami that they were generating good open looks from three. They just have to convert. And last night, while they started converting that second half, they went away from it in the second half because no one else was making any shots, man. It was just a Jalen Brunson show.
When you talk about no one else making shots, the Jalen Brunson show, that's something we've heard over and over and over since he got here to Dallas. Giannis kind of took over in that second half. So he's always going to be tied to New York for obvious reasons. Who do you think he put on notice the most? The Bucks front office to keep him in Milwaukee, or the Knicks front office to find a way to get him to New York City? Like, which team looked like they had the better roster construction?
The better roster construction, I think it's still too early to tell, Brandon, who has the better roster construction. I think both teams need a little bit more time to gel. But for Giannis, the answer is both. He put both teams on notice. He said, look, Milwaukee, I know you went out and you got Miles Turner. I know you did some decent offseason acquisitions. I mean, thank God for Ron Rollins being his sidekick last night and putting up, over 20 plus points, because without him, the Knicks were able to win that game. So for Milwaukee, I'm going to give the Knicks the edge when it comes to who's got the better roster construction. The only reason Milwaukee is like not too far apart is because you got an MVP caliber candidate on that side. But Giannis put both teams on notice. He said, New York, this is what a guy is who everyone clowns, saying, hey, he has a limited bag. James Harden years ago was like, he has more technique because he has to be able to shoot a ball, unlike Giannis, who just has height and athleticism and can just dunk left and right. Well, the big difference is when Giannis wanted to take over, he got the job done. And so you want somebody like that on your team when you're looking at, all right, how do we make this push for a title? When you have someone like Giannis who's dropped 50 in a closeout game to win an NBA championship, put both teams on notice. He said, Bucks, make sure you keep adding to this roster so that way we can continue to compete for a championship. Knicks, look what I can do.
New offensive system for the Knicks, so there's a little bit of room for error in terms of waiting for it all to gel, waiting for it all to come together, Alex. But that's two in a row. They've dropped two in a row. Does this personnel match this new scheme of Mike Brown's?
I'm going to go back to that. It's too early, Brandon, just to even tell if it does or if it doesn't. I mean, the biggest question right now is Karl-Anthony Towns, right? All the other guys seem to be adjusting very well to the speed of the game, and for them, it's just knocking down shots. Whether it's Brunson, Bridges, OG, all those guys are gelling just fine. The big question is Karl-Anthony Towns ready for that? This is a guy who isn't necessarily someone who has been known to hustle up and down the court, work from the high post as, a prolific passer. He's a good passer, but not a prolific passer, say as like Jokic or Sabonis, guys who really are working like dribble handoffs, constantly working from the elbow, looking for guys who are cutting left and right. So I think it's more so, is Cat ready to embrace that? But at the same time, the Knicks are also dealing with injuries. Like, there's no Miles McBride out there right now, probably your best perimeter defender. You don't have your best rim protector in Mitchell Robinson. So look, if you have both those guys playing, I don't think you see the outcome that you do last night, because both those guys are critical when you're looking for a Knicks defense. And right now, they're relying on that starting five last year, which is Brunson, Bridges, Hart, OG, Cat. And we just know from the data, that's not the best starting five for defensive purposes.
Real quick, Tom Thibodeau caught heat for, I guess, running guys into the ground and not having them fresh. I know Deuce McBride is out for personal reasons, but you're worried about these injuries that are kind of piling up for the Knicks so early in the season.
I am a little concerned right now because we don't really know what's going on with Mitchell Robinson, right? So we're still unsure if it's just maintenance because he played the first 2 games, first 3 games in the preseason. Now it's just kind of been what's going on with him. Everything's up in the air when he will return, what's actually going on with his ankle. Yabusele dealing with some knee pain. We know that he'll return somewhere soon. McBride, as you said, personal reasons. So not sure what he's dealing with right now. Hope all is well on his end, but it's not a medical issue, so he will return. The big concern, as we saw yesterday, is Jalen Brunson with the groin injury. That's what they claim, groin, knee. So we're unsure what's going on with him right now. As we saw that he had a weird split in like the third and fourth quarter. But yeah, it's a little concerning. You want all these guys to be healthy. This team was very healthy last season and was capable of staying so healthy when they got to the postseason and made that run to the Eastern Conference Finals. And so you're looking for these guys to return, stay healthy, and go on that same run for this year because there are big expectations. But I'd rather them, get over the knick-knack injuries at the beginning of the season rather than later towards the end of the season when you need these guys fully healthy and gearing up for more minutes in that postseason run.
Love how you threw in that knick-knack right there. No pun intended. Appreciate you hopping on, man.
Appreciate you, Brandon, as always. Have a good one.